place in the stories we tell. If you liked the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. In the 3rd year since Adrian Lee was named Crown Prince, His Majesty granted us a marriage decree. However, on the very next day, the borders erupted into chaos. The Crown Prince led the army himself, leaving behind only 2 short words: wet for me. I held on to that promise tightly, waiting silently for 2 years. But what I received was not the day of his return, but the news that my cousin, Roxanne Chen, had disguised herself as a man to infiltrate the army, and had become his capable right hand. In the 2nd year after the Crown Prince left the capital, a heavy snow fell. Accompanying this snow was resounding news of victory that echoed throughout the realm. The enemy surrendered, and the Grand Army set a date for their triumphant return. His Majesty was overjoyed and exempted the entire country from taxes for a year. A jubilant atmosphere covered the capital, but the Wen estate was an exception. My father, Prime Minister Wen, had gone to court early in the morning, but had not yet returned. Uncle Marcus Chen brought his entire family to visit my mother. It should have been a happy day, but their appearance only distressed her. I sat holding Snowball, my small white cat, absently listening to the conversation between mother and Uncle Marcus. Outside, the snow was falling white, and I could not help but worry, wondering if Adrian was cold at the border. Deep in thought, I was suddenly attracted by the handkerchief Madame Chen used to cover her mouth when she coughed lightly. That handkerchief was unlike ordinary ones, and I could not take my eyes off it. Noticing my gaze, Mother asked what I was looking at. I smiled and replied that it was nothing, only that my aunt's handkerchief looked special. Madame Chen smiled softly and hurriedly tucked the handkerchief into her robe, saying Roxanne had embroidered it for her as a small token of affection. Hearing this, I looked away, lowered my head to stroke the cat in my lap, and said nothing more. Mother then sighed, saying Roxanne was truly becoming more sensible, and asked if there was any news about her marriage yet. Madame Chen replied gently that there was no rush, as Roxanne was an independent spirit who needed more time to choose. It was unclear whether "no rush" meant there was truly no hurry, or if her standards were simply too high. I remembered years ago, when Adrian had begged me to embroider a handkerchief for him. I had spent 3 copper coins to buy a piece of fabric, asked a maid to stitch the character "Quiet" in the corner, and gave it to him. Who would have thought that handkerchief would now lie in the hands of Madame Chen? I spoke up slowly, noting that it had been a long time since I had seen cousin Roxanne. Madame Chen sighed, saying the girl was unruly, relying on her skills to sneak into the military camp, but rumor had it she would return with the Grand Army. Hearing this, the smile on my mother's lips stiffened slightly. How could a daughter join the military camp, especially a girl who was so reckless? Madame Chen quickly changed her tone, laughing and saying that although Roxanne was a girl, she was no less capable than any man, and her performance in the camp was even more excellent than her brother's. She mentioned Roxanne had been transferred to the Crown Prince's camp. When hearing the words, Crown Prince, Mother instinctively looked toward me. I pretended not to hear, silently stroking Snowball in my arms. But Uncle Marcus would not let it go. He cleared his throat and said the Crown Prince had been seriously injured, and fortunately, Roxanne had stayed by his bedside for 3 days and 3 nights without leaving a single step, which allowed the prince to regain consciousness. He then addressed my mother, saying that Roxanne was not a stickler for formality, and asked Mother to be tolerant of her in the future. These words were too clear. Even if I wanted to play dumb, I could not. Mother's face changed immediately. She slammed her teacup down on the table and coldly asked what he was saying. She said she knew Roxanne had entered the military camp, and she understood his greedy nature, but he should not use those stories to force her. I stood up, hugged my white cat, and spoke gently, telling Mother and Uncle to discuss important matters while I excused myself. Without waiting for Uncle Marcus to react, I turned and left. Before stepping out, I heard everything they said, but nothing surprised me, except for one thing: cousin Roxanne had cared for Adrian for 3 days without leaving. And more importantly, that handkerchief. It was the first one I gave him. I remembered he once said that as long as he lived, this handkerchief would always be with him. Yet now, it was in someone else's hands. Thinking of this, my heart went cold. I could only assume he was no longer in this world. It was not until dusk that Uncle Marcus and his wife left the estate. Mother called me into her room. Her face no longer held the anger she had shown Uncle Marcus that morning. It seemed she had been persuaded by them. After a few casual remarks, Mother finally stated the reason for calling me. She said Uncle Marcus claimed that Roxane and the Crown Prince had pledged their love in the military camp. She reminded me that Uncle only had Roxane as a daughter. Speaking to this point, Mother's voice hesitated, as if the words were difficult to say. I laughed coldly in my heart and asked softly if she wanted me to yield the Crown Prince to cousin Roxane. Mother hurriedly waved her hands, saying no, and that Uncle only hoped Roxane could be a secondary consort, and she would certainly not dare to surpass me. My mother was still the same, with a weak and indecisive nature, always favoring her maternal family. Over the years, Father had helped the Chen family countless times, but I did not expect that for the sake of her brother, Mother would disregard even my marriage. I lowered my eyes and asked if she had discussed this with Father yet. Mother shook her head slightly, saying she had not, but asked if I could speak to him. I nodded and said gently that I must speak to Father about this myself. Thinking I had agreed, Mother happily held my hand and advised me earnestly. She said I was her only daughter, and eventually, the entire Wen estate would belong to me. To have support, I needed help from Uncle Marcus's general estate. She added that if Roxane also entered the Eastern Palace, the two of us could rely on each other. I did not know whether to call my mother naive or truly foolish. Over the years, Uncle Marcus had painted countless beautiful scenarios, and Mother not only believed them but wanted me to follow along. Unfortunately, I did not see Father that day. A servant reported that Father had to go out to handle business and would return in a few days. Mother did not think much of it, but I felt something was unusual. There were very few matters that required the Prime Minister to personally go out and handle them. Thinking it over, there was only one recent event, and that was the day welcoming the Grand Army's return. It seemed the drama involving my cousin, who was rumored to have pledged her love to my fiancé, was about to conclude. 3 days later, the Grand Army returned in triumph. The people of the capital knelt on both sides of the road to welcome them. The Crown Prince sat in his carriage and did not reveal himself, but beside his carriage, my cousin Roxane rode a horse in shining armor, looking majestic. Her face was without makeup, her chest held high, and her expression was full of pride, just like a general returning from victory. I did not blame cousin Roxane for her arrogance, for those protecting the Crown Prince's carriage were certainly the most elite imperial guards. I only glanced once and immediately returned to the estate. As soon as I stepped through the door, Ruby rushed over and handed me a silk bag. She said it was the peace charm I had asked her to get from the temple for the Crown Prince. It was said that the old monk on the mountain claimed this charm was very effective. The day I heard Adrian was injured, I was worried and immediately told the maid to pray for a peace charm, which had just arrived today. I took it, glanced at it briefly, and threw it straight into the fire. Ruby cried out in horror, asking why I threw it away. As the flames quickly swallowed the charm, I glanced indifferently and said that a man who has a change of heart might as well be dead out there. After speaking, I waved my hand to dismiss the maid and silently watched the charm burn to ashes. Suddenly, a deep voice rang out from behind asking if the man who changed his heart was him. I was startled and turned around to find Crown Prince Adrian. I did not know when he had entered my room. He leaned against my bed, his expression composed. Without hesitating for a second, I grabbed the teacup on the table and threw it straight at him. He laughed, asking if I planned to murder my husband. Although he said that, he easily caught the teacup. There was no fear in his eyes, only a teasing look. I narrowed my eyes on him. The anger in my heart flared up like a fire I could not suppress. That damned man dared to climb onto my bed. I did not hesitate to pull the hairpin from my head, aiming straight for his mocking face. Adrian quickly put down the teacup and used his hand to block, but his movements were too fast, easily dodging my attacks. I stabbed repeatedly but missed. Instead, he took the opportunity to hug me tightly from behind, giving me no time to react. He leaned close to my ear and whispered that I was still as fierce as ever. Before he could finish his sentence, I twisted the hairpin in my hand and stabbed forcefully into his arm. Adrian stepped back slightly, letting out a groan of pain, but still managed to finish his words. I gritted my teeth and asked coldly if he had forgotten who I was, with so many beauties serving him. He did not answer, only tightened his embrace and buried his face in my neck to inhale deeply. We had not met for 2 years. I thought I had forgotten his appearance, but with just a backward glance, even without seeing his face clearly, I still recognized it was him. He held me tightly for a long while before speaking. He said the military camp was full of men, so where would there be any beauties beside him? I sarcastically remarked that my cousin was surely a beauty. Then my eyes turned cold as I asked why the handkerchief I gave him was in Madame Chen's hands. Adrian paused for a moment, as if trying to understand my meaning. But I no longer had enough patience. I pulled the hairpin from his arm and pushed him hard, intending to throw him out. Just then, a familiar voice came from outside the door asking if cousin Serafina Wen was in there, saying she was coming in. I was startled. Why was cousin Roxanne looking for me as soon as she returned to the capital? And for what purpose? Without time to think, I realized something more important. If anyone saw Adrian in my bedroom, the reputation of the Prime Minister's estate would be completely destroyed. I frantically looked for a place to hide him. My eyes quickly scanned the area under the bed. Adrian held the arm injured by my hairpin, looking at me with resentment. He sighed and whispered that he did not want to crawl in there. I glared at him, signaling that this was not a matter of whether he wanted to or not. Finally, under my determined gaze, Adrian obediently crawled under the bed. Just as I put the blanket down, the door was pushed open. I quickly sat properly on the bed, looking toward cousin Roxanne. Roxanne entered and said, "Oh, you are here. Why didn't you answer me just now?" Cousin Roxanne spoke while walking in, acting as naturally as if she were in her own home. Wearing clothes still stained with road dust, she casually sat on my chaise lounge. Before I could even blame her for intruding into my bedroom, she spoke first, blaming me for not coming out to welcome her. I suppressed the annoyance in my heart and kept my voice calm, asking what business brought her here. She poured herself a cup of tea, drank it in one go, and then looked at me. She said my father must have told me that she and the Crown Prince had pledged their love. As soon as she finished speaking, a small noise came from under the bed. Roxanne immediately became alert, asking what that was. The noise made by Adrian made my heart sink. I forced a smile and said it was probably my cat, as she was very naughty. Cousin Roxanne looked at me with suspicion but did not ask further. I was just about to breathe a sigh of relief when suddenly my eyes caught the corner of a robe sticking out from under the bed. My whole body went stiff, and my palms sweated coldly. Roxanne continued to ramble on, her voice full of pride. She said she had been to the battlefield and witnessed life and death. She claimed to be a phoenix flying in the 9 heavens, not a weak lady who only knew how to hide behind doors like me. She arrogantly continued, saying that when the Crown Prince faced difficulties on the battlefield, she was always by his side. When he was seriously injured and unconscious, it was she who had cared for him. She declared that in this world, only she was worthy of him. She told me that if I knew what was good for me, I should voluntarily withdraw from the marriage. I pursed my lips, and before I could answer, she snapped, asking if I heard what she said. I stood up abruptly, moving so fast that Adrian did not have time to react. I used my foot to kick the corner of his robe sticking out, shoving him neatly back under the bed. I immediately adjusted my expression, putting on a standard smile, and agreed that cousin Roxanne was right. It seemed Roxanne did not expect me to comply so easily. Momentarily, she just looked at me, speechless. I calmly adjusted my expression, covered my mouth with a handkerchief, and gently asked cousin Roxanne to return to her estate first, as I needed some quiet time. Roxanne did not suspect anything. She just gave a cold snort and left a remark that I had better think it through thoroughly before turning to leave. As soon as she was gone, Adrian crawled out from under the bed, his eyes full of disbelief. He asked if she was crazy and when had he and she ever pledged their love. I did not answer, he continued, saying he was majestic on the battlefield. So why did he become impotent according to her words? After speaking, he turned to look at me, smiling ingratiatingly. He told me not to listen to her nonsense, saying he thought she was delusional. I replied coldly that even if he and she truly had pledged their love, it did not matter, as I was still the crown princess, and no one in the Eastern Palace could replace my position. He nodded and laughed, saying that was correct. He explained that in the military camp, Prince Damien Li was interested in Roxanne. But out of respect for me, he did not give her to Prince Damien but kept her in his own camp. Adrian spoke with sarcasm, saying she thought he had feelings for her, but in reality, he found her annoying. He explained that in the final battle, he personally went to the front to encourage the soldiers and was unfortunately injured and fainted. At that time, Roxanne voluntarily asked to care for him, but matters like cleaning his body were done by his personal guards from childhood. She only fed him medicine. He shrugged and laughed mockingly. He said while he was in a coma, Roxanne discovered the handkerchief he always carried. She was not stupid and naturally knew it was my object. but both she and the crown prince thought it was a handkerchief I had embroidered myself. She wanted to use this to drive a wedge between our feelings. He asked what could be easier to cause division than a token of love being given to another woman, and what could be more painful than seeing one's token of love in someone else's hands. Roxane had taken advantage of a moment when no one was paying attention to secretly take the handkerchief from the crown prince and gave it to a trusted person in the general's estate, who then transferred it to Aunt Madame Chen. Why? To bring it to the Wen estate that day and show it off in front of me, causing me pain so that I would nod in agreement to let her join the Eastern Palace, or even hope I would break the engagement so she could take the position. It must be said she did not lack strategy, but her vision was too limited. A handkerchief worth 3 copper coins could be easily found everywhere in the capital. One only needed to step out onto the street to find it. But he forgot that Roxane had been in the military camp all year round and had no opportunity to go out to realize this. Since returning to the capital, the crown prince sought ways to remind me of his presence every day. Although busy with countless tasks of the court, he never forgot to send people to deliver all sorts of things. Today, the royal kitchen made delicious osmanthus milk cakes, and he sent a young eunuch to bring them to me. Yesterday, the peonies in the imperial garden bloomed brilliantly, and he sent a pot to give me. The day before, hearing that a talented sculptor had opened a shop in a small alley, he immediately sent people to invite him to make a statue for me. Before that, when His Majesty awarded precious pearls, he also brought them for me to use. Within 10 days, I saw the young eunuch's legs become visibly thinner from running back and forth. Along with the gifts, he sent countless handwritten letters. The handwriting was neat, and the words were affectionate. Dearest Serafina, long time no see. I miss you terribly. The wound caused by your hairpin has not healed yet, showing that you did not strike lightly that day. People often say hitting is affection, scolding is love. The harder you hit, the deeper the true love. Thinking of this, my heart truly felt warm. It was not in vain that during those long days in the military camp, he had longed for me. In another letter, he wrote, Dearest Serafina, yesterday I dreamed of your radiant smile, to the point that I laughed myself awake. But then I realized there was no one beside me, and the loneliness felt even more profound. Reading those words, I could only stare into the empty space beside me. My heart was suddenly filled with complex feelings. I did not know when I would be able to see him again. Court affairs were truly troublesome. Dearest Serafina, today your cousin Roxane came to the Eastern Palace. She said she had just learned a new blade technique and insisted on performing it for me to see. Out of respect for you, I did not kick her out of the palace. But I did not expect her to be so rude. If she wanted to dance with a blade, she could have just danced. Why did she have to use my furniture as target practice? That was a chaise lounge made of rare rosewood that I specifically commissioned for you. Before you even had a chance to see it, she destroyed it. I truly detest a rude person like her. She was sweating profusely, looking no different from a carriage driver. She even drank all the precious golden needle tea that I intended to save for you. Seeing that scene, I only missed your gentle elegance. Dearest Serafina, why haven't you sent a reply to me yet? The days in the Eastern Palace without you are truly boring. Before I met you, I found everything normal. But since having you, even a moment of separation makes me uncomfortable and restless. When can I see you again? I heard a new restaurant opened on West Street that serves the 8 treasure duck you like very much. Once court affairs settle down, I will take you there to try it. What do you think? Looking at the stack of handwritten letters from the Crown Prince, I just smiled and wrote a reply letter for the young eunuch to take back. Just as I saw him out of the estate, my father, Prime Minister Wen, who had been absent for so long, finally turned. I had thought that when the Grand Army returned in triumph, father would return with them. But even when the Crown Prince had returned to the capital, there was still no sign of father. Perhaps His Majesty had assigned father a secret mission. I had spent many days dealing with Uncle Marcus and Roxane's desire to enter the Eastern Palace. Today, since father had returned, I definitely had to speak clearly with him. Father, your daughter wishes to pay her respects. Entering the study, I saw father. His face looked tired but still dignified. Having just returned to the estate, he still had the weary appearance of travel and had not yet changed his clothes. I signaled for everyone to withdraw, gently closed the study door, and then stepped behind father to massage his stiff shoulders. After a long while, father gradually relaxed, patted my hand lightly, and sighed softly. My good daughter, you are still so sensible. It was not in vain that I have loved you for so long. He paused for a moment, his eyes becoming more serious. Sit down and rest for a moment. I have something to say to you. I poured a cup of hot tea for father and then sat down next to him. Father held the teacup, looked at it for a long time, and then sighed. Do you know why I only return now? I shook my head and bowed, replying, your daughter is dull and does not know why, but I guess that what you were doing is related to the crown prince getting injured. Hearing this, father's eyes revealed satisfaction, and he smiled slightly. My daughter is truly intelligent. You are worthy of being my child. Father lowered his voice and continued. His Majesty suspected that the crown prince's injury on the battlefield was not simply an accident, but had a hidden story behind it, so he assigned me to investigate secretly. Not betraying his trust, I found some clues. But father stopped, his eyes showing a hint of awkwardness. These clues are related to your maternal family, specifically your Uncle Marcus's house. He paused a moment and took a sip of tea, seeming to want to swallow the difficult words about my mother. Although he did not say it, I understood clearly. My mother was a good woman, born into a general's family, with a gentle personality and mature elegance, always treating me and my siblings fairly. Because of mother's capability and skill, father could rest assured to focus on advancing in the court without worrying about family matters. But mother had a fatal weakness. She was too soft-hearted and always loved her younger brother unconditionally, to the point of sometimes not knowing where to stop. I looked at father, a worry rising in my heart. Perhaps mother's excessive tolerance towards Uncle Marcus had led to an unforeseen trouble. I did not know how many times Uncle Marcus had begged my father, but I did not ask father what he had discovered. Instead, I just pretended to ask casually, I wonder if Uncle Marcus still wants cousin Roxane to marry the crown prince along with me. Should I agree? Hearing this, father immediately slammed the teacup onto the floor, his voice full of anger. That thick-skinned man. Does he still dare to shamelessly demand my daughter share her marriage with her cousin? Two sisters marrying the same man. Can this be considered having any dignity? Father turned to look at me, his eyes steadfast. Daughter, you do not need to pay attention to him. You also do not need to worry about your mother's side. At first, I still respected old ties and wanted to find a way to keep some honor for him, but now it is no longer necessary. I will report the entire matter to His Majesty for him to handle. After speaking, father stood up, called the butler to prepare the carriage, and immediately set off for the palace. I lowered my head to look at the broken teacup shards rolling on the floor, lifted my foot to step on them, and whispered, "Too noisy, be quiet." Looking from the study window to the south, which was the direction of the general's estate, I did not know how father intended to handle it. I just continued my days in my room, embroidering and writing in peace, like a true noble lady. Mother came to visit me a few times, tears streaming down her face with blame, but seeing my innocent appearance of knowing nothing, she cried and left. On this side, I maintained a calm attitude, but Roxane on the other side could no longer sit still. Someone reported that my cousin had visited the estates of several noble ladies, wanting to form an alliance against me. She also spread false rumors to smear my reputation, hoping His Majesty would cancel this marriage. I shook my head slightly, retracting my previous praise that she had some brains. Although Roxane came from a lineage of loyal generals and had learned martial arts from a young age, she always looked down on ladies like me, who practiced the arts of zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. In the few banquets she attended, her arrogant and scornful attitude always made the daughters of prestigious families feel uncomfortable. Normally, out of respect for me, they did not speak out and only ignored her. But now that Roxane had decided to reveal her true colors and separate herself from me, I feared she would be swallowed alive by those noble ladies without mercy. How could she understand that for women living in boudoirs, where daily life was boring, the greatest pleasure was finding ways to toy with others? Do not underestimate an embroidery needle. If used correctly, it can also become a deadly weapon. As expected, Roxane had offended quite a few people. The noble ladies close to me quickly reported all the slanderous words she spread to the Empress. I was the future crown princess determined by the Emperor. Any insult to my honor was also an insult to the royal family. To protect the royal family's face, and understanding the affection the crown prince had for me, the Empress naturally would not let this pass. In just a moment, Roxane, the troublemaker, was ordered by the Empress to be confined. She also specifically sent the strictest matron in the palace to teach her proper conduct. Consequently, my uncle, General Marcus Chen, was also reprimanded for not teaching his child strictly and was suspended from duty for a year. I knew everything was just beginning. The Crown Prince continued to send letters and gifts to me as usual. Without Roxane's harassment, I lived peacefully these days, perhaps a bit too comfortably. Only my mother came to find me a few times, tears falling like rain, but seeing my indifferent look, she cried and left. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, but perhaps seeing me living too leisurely, Roxane refused to stay quiet. She secretly escaped from the general's estate, knelt before me with tears streaming down her face. I was truly muddled, so I spread untrue words. The Empress's punishment for me and my father was deserved. Thanks to the matron's teaching in the palace, I have truly realized my mistake. Can you generously forgive me? I swear that from now on I will never repeat the offense. I looked down at Roxane hugging my legs, not missing the fleeting look of resentment in her eyes. What are you saying, cousin? We are blood sisters. It was just a small friction, how could I be angry with you? You will always be my close cousin. I smiled gently and lifted her up. My eyes were gentle, but my voice was extremely cold. Really? If you don't blame me, that is good. I heard you like treasure duck very much, so I reserved a private room at the newly opened Cloud Tavern. Let's go together later. Their family is famous for the treasure duck. If you have forgiven me, tomorrow at noon, please join me for a reconciliation meal. Alright? Roxane squeezed my hand tightly, her eyes full of anticipation, as if afraid I would refuse. I smiled and nodded in agreement immediately. How could I miss such a good opportunity? After a few sentences of conversation, I ordered Jade to see her back to the general's estate. Jade was not just a maid, but also someone the Crown Prince had secretly placed beside me. She not only had high martial arts skills, but her observation ability was also very keen. Sure enough, by midnight, Jade returned to report that after Roxane returned to her estate, her close maid had secretly gone to Prince Damien's estate. I laughed softly. Truly interesting. My cousin was jealous because I was about to marry the Crown Prince, and Prince Damien was jealous of the Crown Prince's position. It was not strange for two stinking rats to cooperate with each other, but I was curious what trick they intended to use to deal with me or the Crown Prince. Thinking of that, I felt interested. The next day at noon, I arrived at the Cloud Tavern as agreed. As soon as I stepped off the carriage, I saw Roxane waiting, her eyes full of expectation, a look rarely seen from her. She enthusiastically linked arms with me and led me up to a private room on the 3rd floor. I also played along with the role of a happy, close younger cousin. As soon as we sat down, she immediately called the waiter to bring food. She even took out fine wine that her father had hidden away to pour for me. Serafina, little sister, before I was truly wrong and did some things to hurt you. Today, let us drink this cup to dry, ignoring all the unpleasant things in the past, okay? She asked for my opinion, but the movements of her hands did not stop at all, quickly pouring me a full bowl of wine. I laughed softly, covering my mouth with a handkerchief, and said gently, Cousin Roxane, I really cannot drink wine. Please do not pour any more, it is truly a waste. Hearing me speak, Roxane seemed to wake up and immediately poured the wine from the large bowl into a small cup, smiling. It was my negligence. You are a noble lady, certainly not used to drinking wine from a large bowl like me. In the military camp, everything is simple, and I am used to such crudeness. Here, let me pour wine into a small cup, and we will slowly enjoy it. After speaking, she brought the wine cup in front of me, her eyes expecting and full of smugness. I took the wine cup and brought it slightly up to my nose to smell, immediately realizing it was Red Beauty's drunkenness. What a big scheme. I just did not know what role my uncle Marcus played in this matter. Roxane always thought I was just a noble lady living within a framework who did not understand the world. She did not know that besides embroidery, zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting, I also understood the tricks hidden behind every scent. With just a light sniff, I realized the wine was mixed with Red Beauty's drunkenness, a type of sleeping drug. I smiled gently, took a sip of wine, and then pretended to lose consciousness, falling onto the table under Roxane's gloating gaze. She gave a small whistle. Immediately, a person jumped in from the window. The person sneered and said, "Take her away. Return and report to Prince Damien that I have completed the mission. But remember to remind him to keep his promise to me." I did not expect her to be so easy to deceive. Just a few words and she fell into the trap. Stupid. Let's see what face she has left to be the crown princess. Roxane's cold laughter rang out full of contempt. Just let Prince Damien take care of her slowly. Unless she accepts the fate of a female serving 12 men, let's see if she still dares to dream of the crown prince. But less than a moment later, Roxanne fell down unconscious. Behind her was Jade, the person in disguise who had followed me closely from the beginning. Jade carefully switched the clothes between me and Roxanne, put a mask on her face, and then followed the old path to take Roxanne out. Behind the tavern, a carriage had been waiting for a long time. Prince Damien's carriage. I stood by the window frame, silently watching the carriage carrying Roxanne leave until it disappeared from sight. Just then, the room door opened again. The crown prince walked in, looking hurried as if he had just snatched a rare moment of time to come here. Serafina, are you all right? You weren't scared, were you? The crown prince carefully observed me from head to toe, left to right. Only when he saw I was unharmed did he breathe a sigh of relief. Truly hateful. Roxanne dared to think of this kind of trick to deal with you. You are her blood relative, how could she be so cruel? I smiled gently to reassure him. Your Highness, why do you need to take her to heart? I am still standing here safe and sound, am I not? Don't say that. It weren't for Jade reporting the news, did you intend to deal with it yourself? What if the thing in the wine wasn't just a sleeping drug but poison? What would you have done? The crown prince frowned, his eyes a mix of anger and worry. But immediately after, he gently held my hand as if to apologize. Alright, I was wrong. Next time I will not let you fall into a dangerous situation. Don't be angry anymore, okay? Come, eat, don't let the food get cold. I sat down first, picked up a piece of treasure duck, placed it in his bowl, and smiled. There will be no next time. I will not let myself be threatened again. The crown prince looked at me, his eyes solemn. Those who dare to touch you, I will pull out all their claws and smash their teeth so they know the consequence of touching you. He chewed the piece of treasure duck resentfully, as if biting into every fiber of Roxanne's flesh. His eyes shone with cruelty, but I only smiled and did not take those words to heart. I understood men's promises best. When they are in love, every word is true, even grumpiness becomes cute in their eyes. But when they fall out of love, every word is also true, even words of fake concern will be considered a burden. Therefore, whatever he said today, I only listened and remembered, but never placed absolute trust in those promises. I did not depend on his words because I knew clearly that my strength and safety lay in my own hands, needing no protection from anyone. A few days later, Jade returned to report on Roxanne's situation. Listening made me unable to help but laugh. First that day, Roxanne was indeed knocked out and taken to Prince Damien's estate. But before Prince Damien could do anything to her, she woke up. After all, she was a female general who had rushed into battle. Her martial arts could not be underestimated. Before she could see Prince Damien's face clearly, she quickly cut off his manhood. Only when she heard Prince Damien's scream of pain and turned to look closely did she realize she had fallen into my trap. But by this time, Prince Damien no longer had the patience to listen to any explanations and immediately ordered her arrest. Second, because the injury was too serious, Prince Damien had become a true eunuch. To hide this scandal, the emperor decreed that Roxanne must marry him as his official wife. Regardless of whether Prince Damien did not want it, or if Roxanne used death to threaten, this marriage was still decided. I pondered the lively scene later in Prince Damien's estate, and could not help but laugh out loud. I did not know how a deep and scheming Prince Damien, who was now a eunuch, would fight with a strong female general like Roxanne. But no matter what, both of them would no longer be a threat to me and the crown prince. After all, no country would have an emperor who was a eunuch. Even if he intended to usurp the throne, no official would dare to stand on his side. No matter how humiliated his daughter was, she was still his flesh and blood. He could not let someone who could not produce an heir sit on the golden throne. Although Roxanne was unwilling, she still had to enter Prince Damien's estate. It was said that on the wedding day, the crown prince personally sent a congratulatory gift and happily ate 3 extra bowls of rice. As for me, I used the excuse of being sick not to attend. Truly, I did not want to witness the scene of my uncle Marcus being humiliated any further. Especially at this time. Based on my father's reports about Uncle Marcus's previous shady actions, this incident further solidified the tragic end of the Chen family. The emperor had lost patience with the general's estate. Now with the incident of the general's only daughter, causing the scandal of cutting off a prince's roots, I feared my uncle would hardly enjoy a peaceful life in his old age. Sure enough, Within just 2 months, a censor presented a petition accusing Uncle Marcus of embezzling military provisions and falsely reporting the number of soldiers to appropriate subsidy funds. The emperor flew into a rage and immediately ordered Uncle Marcus to be confined in the general's estate, while simultaneously sending people to search everywhere. During the interrogation process, loyal guards who had followed my uncle for many years unexpectedly found concrete evidence of him colluding with the enemy to betray the country. Even my father had to be astonished. He did not expect Uncle Marcus dared to be so reckless. Father sighed in frustration. That old man. I originally thought he was just a common greedy type. Who would have expected he dared to collude with the enemy? I don't know if His Majesty will punish him to the extent of executing his entire clan. For several days, father was restless with worry until the emperor issued a decree. The great general of the expedition, Marcus Chen, was guilty of embezzling military provisions and colluding with the enemy to betray the country, causing the crown prince to be injured on the battlefield and shaking the foundation of the nation. The crime could not be forgiven. However, considering his past merits of fighting for the court, and because his daughter was a princess consort, the death penalty was waived. But the order was given to confiscate all assets accumulated over 3 generations of the Chen family. Except for the daughter who had married out, everyone was exiled to Lingnan, never allowed to participate in imperial examinations forever. Marcus Chen had to depart immediately and could not return to the capital, whether alive or dead. When my mother heard this news, she immediately fainted on the spot. As for me, after days of anxious waiting, I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. I sat by the bed looking at my mother, who was haggard, and sighed softly. After a long while, she woke up, but the first words she uttered were still the old refrain. Serafina, go beg your father to help. Tell your father to think of a way to help your uncle. Lingnan is too harsh. How can your uncle endure it? When he was young, your uncle fought for His Majesty, leaving so many wounds on his body. Now he should be nursing his injuries in the capital. I looked at mother, my heart full of bitterness. Although she was kind, she was too soft-hearted and never saw the consequences of her unreasonable indulgence. Mother, who often complained of back pain and knee aches, now wanted to protect a person who had caused so many disasters. If Uncle Marcus was exiled to Lingnan, it was only a path to death. Mother, you say uncle is your only relative. Then what are father and I in your heart? You view uncle as a relative, but does uncle view you as a relative? If uncle considered you family, he would not have let his daughter compete for the crown prince and harm her own cousin. If uncle considered family, he would not have betrayed the country on the battlefield, causing the crown prince to be injured. The crown prince is not only your son-in-law but also the pillar of the country. Isn't uncle's action pushing our entire family to a dead end? Do you know, mother? If uncle truly colluded with the enemy and lost national territory, would our family, with our relationship to the crown prince and father being the prime minister, still have a way to live? If uncle failed, we, as close blood relatives, would be executed along with his 9 generations. Do you still think uncle considers you family? You tell me to beg the crown prince, to beg father. But do you not think that if it were not out of respect for you and me, uncle would have been executed rather than exiled? Embezzling military provisions, colluding with the enemy, which crime does not deserve beheading. Now you still want to beg. Isn't that making His Majesty detest father and the crown prince? Mother, oh mother, you need to wake up. Uncle is no longer the child who needs your protection but has grown up, though his heart turned black long ago. It is precisely because he knew you would defy everything to save him that he dared to commit such huge mistakes step by step. I pushed mother's hand away. For the first time, I did not save face and shouted, Mother, I am truly disappointed in you. Mother just remained silent, keeping her stubborn appearance, refusing to wake up. I took a deep breath, my voice cold. Mother, I am too disappointed. You always taught me to be gentle and mild, but do you want me to become a heartless person? Look back and see. Now, what is the difference between you and father? That is your brother, my last support when I step into the Eastern Palace. When you were small, uncle loved you so much. Have you forgotten? Mother shouted angrily, like a shrewish woman, completely losing her usual gentle appearance. Mother, I am father's daughter. Behind me is the Prime Minister's estate, not the General's estate. If not for a bit of old affection, when we were small, would I have let uncle's daughter, Roxane Chen, live to enter Prince Damien's estate? A crisp slap rang out, my left cheek burned, and a buzzing sound rang in my ears. Own filial daughter, you dared to harm your cousin. Your uncle said that you personally plotted to force your cousin to marry into Prince Damien's estate. I did not believe it, but it turns out to be true. Go away, I do not want to see you anymore. You and your father are both cold, blooded and heartless people. Mother screamed, her eyes full of pain and anger. I touched my cheek and gave a faint laugh. I begged to take my leave. I turned my back and walked away. Just as I exited the door, I ran into Father and the Crown Prince standing outside. Father was pale with anger, intending to rush into the room to confront Mother, but the Crown Prince raised his hand to stop him. Lord Prime Minister, this is inherently your family matter, I should not interfere. But right now, Madam is very angry. It is better to wait a few days when her mood settles down to sit and talk. For now, we should take Serafina to treat her wound. What do you think? The Crown Prince smiled gently, but I clearly saw his hand clenching until it turned white under his sleeve. Wait a few days. How long is that? I did not know if my mother, a married woman, would ever be able to change her perspective. My mother, along with my uncle's family, was exiled. Father said that the Crown Prince had personally sought the Emperor, petitioning that Mother could not bear to let her younger brother suffer, and wanted to reunite with her family. Hearing this, the Emperor immediately issued a decree allowing Mother to follow them to Lingnan. Mother did not hesitate to pack her jewelry and silver neatly, then sought to join the group with Uncle Marcus. She did not bother to care about Father or me, leaving us only to look at each other with eyes full of helplessness. Fortunately, the Crown Prince did not actually want to harm his wife's mother. He arranged for people to secretly protect her and sent letters reporting news of her journey daily. At first, Mother brought gold and silver like a fairy descending to earth, shining with generosity to save Uncle's family. Led by him, they enthusiastically welcomed her. But the peaceful scene did not last long. Gold and silver, no matter how much, had limits, unable to bear the cost of food and living expenses for 100 people. When they became destitute, Mother began to be treated coldly. Even so, Mother did not mind much, thinking it was just petty anger during difficult times from her only loved ones. But then, because she was used to living in silk and velvet, Mother caught a cold on the road and needed money for medicine. Uncle Marcus, with his narrow mind, ordered his wife to secretly steal Mother's luggage and run away in the night. That made Mother so angry that she stood in the middle of the inn, hands on her hips, cursing Uncle Marcus's ancestors. The Crown Prince saw it was time and ordered people to bring Mother back. Seeing Father and me, Mother burst into tears. But this time, her tears were no longer for that pitiful younger brother. Finally, Uncle's family was no longer a thorn in our side. The wedding of the Crown Prince and me was brought to the discussion table. The Empress summoned me to the palace to show me the auspicious days that had been divined, asking which day I liked. She also ordered the embroiderers in the Imperial Household Department to take measurements for the wedding dress and asked what style of crown I wanted. Everything centered on me, from big to small, showing the Crown Prince's intent in every matter. Her Majesty the Empress saw I was still hesitant, but did not rush me. She only gently said I should go back and think more. Seeing her knowing look, like someone who had been through it, made me blush with embarrassment. I did not know what the Empress had suggested to the Crown Prince, but this little ancestor, the future of the nation, decided to move out of the Eastern Palace and into the Prime Minister's estate. This time, the young eunuch did not need to run back and forth anymore, and his eyes looked ready to tear up from emotion. Not only did the Crown Prince move in, but even his daily items were brought along. From the bed and large bookshelves to chopsticks and small teacups, nothing was missing. My father watched the Crown Prince busily dismantling the Eastern Palace to bring things over. Although he said nothing, the corner of his mouth twitching wildly was enough to reveal his feelings. Furthermore, the Crown Prince's trusted officials also came to the estate every day. During the day, they stayed with him in the study, learning to govern the country and solving political affairs. When resting, he often played a few games of chess with me in the flower garden, then returned to the study to continue work with a face covered in paper strips as punishment for losing. During meals, the Crown Prince also refused to sit still. He even practiced using chopsticks with his left hand, just to hold my hand under the table. After accidentally catching that mischievous act once, Father declared he did not want to eat with us anymore, using the excuse that his old age could not stand such sweetness. My mother even dragged my aunts and younger siblings into the backyard to hide, daring not to appear. Only my younger brother, Little Leo, who had been close to me since childhood, did not want to leave, so he was glared at by mother. Your mother likes your sister, and also likes your brother-in-law, the crown prince. Can you not hide with mother in the backyard? I want to eat with them. You want what? I don't want to, mother said, then sternly dragged little Leo away. You are still young, looking too much will develop bad habits. Do you know that? After so many times of being pestered and begged by the crown prince, I finally had to nod in agreement to choose the nearest date to get married. According to etiquette, the couple could not meet before the wedding day. Reluctantly, the crown prince moved his luggage back to the Eastern Palace. From then on, the young eunuch became busy again, having to bring gifts from the Eastern Palace to the Prime Minister's estate every day, not just once but dozens of times. From food, novel tribute items, and precious flowers to small handmade items, everything poured into the estate. Looking at the young eunuch who had just gained a little weight now becoming thin as a monkey again, I could not help but laugh. Father saw everything. In court, he worked even harder for the crown prince. Mother always said she had no Uncle Marcus as support, but she did not realize how much father loved me. Before the wedding took place, father once asked me, "Daughter, do you truly want to marry the crown prince? If you do not want to, even if I have to resign, I will take you away so you can freely choose your future." Hearing those words, my eyes stung, and a wave of emotion rose in my heart, making me want to cry. Father patted the top of my head, a rare gesture from long ago. Daughter, I see clearly that the crown prince loves you more than you love him. But remember, the human heart needs a response. A person who only knows how to give will get tired. If possible, try to treat the crown prince a little better. Do not be like your father when he was young, thinking only of himself, realizing the value of true love only when old. Your mother always looks towards your uncle. Isn't it because I once hurt her? But daughter, I must also remind you that you are marrying into the royal family. Favor and storms are all the emperor's grace. Love and sacrifice are necessary, but do not forget to keep your own heart. Daughter, remember, do not give all your heart. Keep a part for yourself. Only in that way can you face the storms in the harem freely. Do not give it all away. Do you understand my meaning? I nodded in silence. My good daughter, you are smarter than others. I do not worry about your ability to protect yourself. It is just that if one day you feel unhappy, do not endure it alone. The Prime Minister's estate will forever open its doors to welcome you. You are the eldest lady of the Prime Minister's estate. Even reasoning with the royal family is not impossible. Your father and the entire Prime Minister's estate are a solid backing for you. After saying those words, father's back seemed to hunch a little more, but he exuded infinite strength. With such a father, what did I have to fear without someone standing behind me? Watching the figures of people in the estate busy going back and forth, I returned to my room, picked up the embroidery frame, and began to embroider a handkerchief. Perhaps this was the time to embroider a handkerchief for the crown prince with my own hands. Isn't love a two-way street? The day the handkerchief was finished was also the day I stepped into my wedding. Wearing a brilliant wedding dress, I bowed to my parents and entered the Eastern Palace. Under the flickering lamp, the crown prince lifted my veil, smiling slyly. Serafina, finally I have married you. That is right, Adrian. I have come to be your wife. The most profound lesson from Serafina's journey is that true security comes not from the protection of others, but from one's own wisdom and self-worth. While love is precious, it should never demand the sacrifice of one's dignity or identity. We must learn to distinguish between blind loyalty, which destroyed her mother, and genuine devotion, which requires reciprocity. As her father wisely advised, one should never give their entire heart away. Keeping a part for yourself ensures you remain whole through life's storms. Ultimately, a sharp mind and a guarded heart are a woman's strongest weapons against the world's schemes. The story ends here for now. If it touched your heart or left you thinking, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share Raccoon Tale to help more stories come to life. See you in the next tale.